Coming up, Serena Wright Taylor, Vedic Astrologer and intuitive astrologer to the stars in Hollywood. Serena will give a personal reading for you. Just check the links down below. Serena talks about AI and consciousness, UFO disclosure, and she gives a forecast for America in 2024. Serena Wright Taylor, always amazing, and she also happens to be a very lovely person. What more could you want? Well, Serena, thank you for once again being on my podcast. It's a blessing, and good luck to me, I think, having you on.
Oh, thank you so much. I love being on. It's so nice to be back.
Terrific. I was thinking we'd cover a few things. First of all, you wanted to talk about AI in the soul, which is very interesting to me.
Yes, well, AI and consciousness, really. It's AI and consciousness. That's what everyone's been asking me about.
Yeah, it's good.
Did you want me to talk about that first?
Yep, I'm thinking that, and then perhaps get into the recent UFO disclosure stuff that's been happening in Congress, and then to wrap it up, maybe get your intuitive sense on what's happening or what is going to happen in the future. I'm concerned about this Ukraine war and the troubles in Europe, so maybe we can cover those three topics. But would you like to start with the AI subject?
Yes, because the thing is, next year for Conscious Life Expo in February, we're calling it when science meets spirit, and so we're talking about science and spirituality, and people have been asking me about everyone's been talking about, can AI become conscious, and an amazing thing that happened. I have the same teacher or spiritual or guru as Michael Cremo, who has written the books like The Forbidden Archaeologist, and he's known as the Forbidden Archaeologist. And so we had a great conversation. I've known him for a long time because we actually lived at the same temple sometimes in the past, and we both had the same. I asked him, well, what do you think? What is the Vedic, view of this, of consciousness being in AI? Is it possible? And I don't think so, because the soul is conscious, and how can the soul be in there? And he agreed. But then after we'd had this long conversation, we came to a kind of a different conclusion. So, when I talk about these things, I'm talking from the perspective of the Vedas, the ancient Vedas of India, not just my own head, which wouldn't be very good. Very messed up own head. So the thing is that we look at consciousness as being a symptom of the soul. So if the soul is inside a body, the body is conscious and alive. And when the soul leaves the body, you could say the body is dead, but the person isn't, because the person has gone somewhere else. And in Vedic and in many teachings, I think, and everyone kind of knows this, I bet, who's listening to you, because you've got such a wise audience, I'm sure, that you kind of think about the body as being a material thing that dies, but we are not the body. We are spirit soul. We say spirit soul just to explain that the body is material and the soul is spiritual, and it's eternal. Anything that's spiritual doesn't die. So then you've got this as us that are inside this body, and we are pure spirit. And how do we interact with the body? Well, the body is actually two bodies, and that's one thing that explains everything really for me. We call it there's the material body, and then there's the subtle body. And the subtle body you can't see. So like the mind, you can't see the mind, you can't see the intelligence. And also we say false ego, the false ego, the ego that thinks it's the body that's also part of the subtle body, because we have to think with this body to a certain extent in order to live here. We can't just totally neglect that body, right? So so then when the body dies, when it gets old and dies, or for whatever reason, the subtle body takes the soul out to the next life. So yeah, when we leave this world, we actually are taken by our subtle body to our next life. And of course, that contains our karma, our desire, because we get a body according to our karma and our desires. And are also when we do astral projection, some people can make that happen spontaneously. But when we find ourselves traveling outside the body, we're in our subtle body then. So that's our other body. So that's what we need. So if consciousness was in AI, there would have to be a person, a life present in the AI, because you can't have a little bit of consciousness. And, you know, if consciousness is there, it's there fully. So that was, and then so we came to the conclusion that they haven't built a body yet that could be AI body, that could have a soul come and live in it. Because there's so much, we've got to integrate it with the subtle body. And so you've got to be able to touch and feel things and taste things. And like the whole senses are in that subtle body. So unless you have that, you can't be having consciousness in AI. So it's either a program that's very advanced or a soul can go in there. And perhaps in the future, they could build that kind of body, because then, but they can't do it yet. That's what the conclusion was that we came to. But it's not, consciousness is not just a bunch of chemicals or just a program. And so that's kind of the conversation we're having. What do you think about that?
Well, I heard you say something about, and this is interesting. You mentioned that we can choose what we are going to become. Did I hear you say that? Is that part of this?
Choice and karma. Yeah. Yeah, so if someone's thinking about something, you know, involved, actually, I've thought of I gave the example when in this conversation we had, what if someone's so into making a robot and their whole life is making this AI robot, and that's all they're thinking of when they pass into the next life? That would be a way that their desire would be fulfilled by being in it, you know, something like that. But yeah, normally the desire is very important for where you want to go in your next life. But your karma is there too. So that has to be both. And we carry our karma with us.
What would you say to people, and this is probably universal, everybody fears death. What would you say to someone who is maybe near death or is dealing with an illness? What would you tell them to give them faith and hope that they are going to be going elsewhere, to a different experience, to a better experience?
Yeah, that's what we've been learning our whole lives, really. That it is not really dying; it's just the body, and all those who have experienced, even have come back after having a near-death experience. They all give wonderful stories about what happened to them, wonderful accounts of what happened to them, and they often feel like, oh, I don't really want to go back. This is wonderful. I don't want to go back. But they're told they have more to do and they have to come back. And that's happened so many times. So I would ask them to remember that. But then all the great teachings, they talk about life going on, and that we are spirit and we're not the material body. And the body has to pass because it is, you know, we have to leave it because it runs out. It's a material thing, not a spiritual thing. And our spiritual body, our body and soul are the same. It's a spiritual body. So that goes on forever.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I've been doing my best lately, so hopefully I'll go on to something something better.
Yeah, it's really got to do our best.
Let's switch gears for a sec and discuss this UFO disclosure, which we've been seeing a lot of those hearings in Congress. I mean, I've listened to Art Bell since I was pretty young, and I've known about all this stuff, the Roswell thing, the crash in Roswell, the recovering of bodies. I've read so much about it. It seems old hat to me. I mean, I've This is stuff that I already know.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why they're coming out with this stuff now in revealing this classified material. What is it about this particular time, you think, that is prompting the government to sort of seep out this information little by little?
Well, I think there's quite a lot of things. One thing, it makes it harder to keep it covered up when so many people now have cell phones, and people are recording it all over, and then they have to explain it away, and the military included. And then also the new agreement was passed, amendment, right? I haven't got the proper words in front of me, but that they wouldn't receive repercussions. People in the military, people in the government would no longer receive repercussions if they came and talked about their experiences, seeing UFOs or any kind of extraterrestrial experience. So they're safe, because before it used to be that they would lose their pension, or I mean, at least that, or worse, be ruined, or maybe not alive anymore. So there was really serious repercussions before. Those things can't happen. That passed last year. No, this year, wasn't it? At the beginning, January, I think. I'm really bad
Yeah,
on dates and things unless
I
I've got
think
them in
so.
front of me.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was January. And
Yeah.
we talked about it on our panel at Conscious Life Expo with Daniel Sheehan and Linda Moulton, how they both talked about and discovered it. And Linda discovered that the people who are her whistleblowers could also report and be free from repercussions. So I think that was a really important thing, that people felt safer. And there's one after the other. And then Lou Elizondo started it, and then it's just going on. And so I think that's what's going on. And I think, as they say, the cat's out of the bag. It's been done. And now trying to say, oh, cover it up now, it's really hard. So I'm very hopeful that this will continue.
Well,
Slowly. I know it's supposed to be slow.
yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, there have been so many observations over the decades all over the world. In fact, this Oumuamua craft or object that passed through the solar system, was it last year or the year before? That object seemed to have properties of an artificial craft, the way it moved. Do you have any information about that, or what theories are in play as to what that may have been besides a natural object?
Well, it was Professor Avi Loeb that called it Oumuamua, and his impression is that it was acting differently from how if it was some other, object in space, natural object in space. And there's pictures of it. They're not actually pictures, but I think from our view, oddly shaped, but it could easily be a craft, very huge craft. So I think I would want people to read Avi Loeb's explanation. I don't have that in front of me, but yeah, I mean, that easily could be one of those great crafts that are even referred to in the Vedas. And go back to the Vedas again, and these motherships they're not really even that. They're like islands. And sometimes you hear about, well, not hear, but I mean, reading in the stories about different kinds of extraterrestrials having meetings on this huge place, which is really a floating ship, a vimana, but it's huge. And they're having meetings in the universe with the different kinds of ETs who had different jobs in the universe, having a meeting, and in these huge places. And I kind of see it as that, it could be something like that now we're suddenly realizing they're there, has become more aware of what's out there with our technology.
Sort of like the United Nations of the cosmos.
Yeah, I mean, it can be that. Yeah, we're not included, though, because we don't behave.
Serena, getting to astrology, you being an astrologist and an intuitive, my interpretation, or what I've studied about astrology, leads me to make a comparison to the human body, to the metabolic system, where all cells are related and communicate with each other. I think that's my interpretation of what astrology is. The cosmos, the planets, the stars, all interact. Everything is communicating. You being an intuitive, I wonder if you might give your intuitive perspective as to where we are in the world right now with this war in Ukraine and the unrest in the world. What are you feeling? What are you thinking may happen in the near future? Because it seems there needs to be a resolution to all this tension.
Yeah. Well, as for the war in Ukraine, we had I didn't get prepared with the dates, but we have looked at that, meaning a lot of us astrologers, determining that there's a huge improvement next year, and that basically it can end next year. And this was right from when it started. It was hoping, okay, it's not going to last long, and then we looked and different kinds of research and thought, no, it's going to be 2024. So I don't know how it ends, and I think we'll know more of that as it gets nearer, and looking at the transits and looking what's going on. But I think it was meant to be 24, and also other things improving then as well. Over here, everyone's worried about the economy, of course, and that, of course, Jupiter's retrograde, economy for the whole world. It's always a bit difficult with that. And for America particularly, actually, I do have that chart in front of me. America has a chart. Of course, it's hard to know the exact time. I have the one by the astrologer James Kelleher, which we find to be the best. It is a bit sad at the moment because for America, Saturn is on the moon of America. So, and it's kind of being stationary on that because the Saturn goes stationary for the next 2, 3, well, really until December, and it's at this position, and affecting the moon. So it affects the emotion. So if this is a person, when we have our what's called sadhisati, or Saturn transiting the moon, we have to be introspective because usually we're a little bit emotionally upset about something, and we have to kind of go within and make adjustments and heal. And that is what America has to do, to go within and make adjustments and heal. So things may, you may see some reasons why people might be feeling a little down the next couple of months in this country. But, it starts with the next year. It's amazing. Jupiter goes forward actually on the 1st of January. So it right away starts a very good 24. So that's one of the things. Another thing, there is something good though going on right now. Here in LA, a lot of my clients, of course, are in the entertainment field, and I was at one time as well. And of course, there's been a strike. And I had actually said it's going to come to an end in the second part of September. And the reason is that the Mercury, which was retrograde, went retrograde in this nakshatra or constellation called Purva Phalguni, which is my moon sign, so I'm used to knowing about it. And Purva Phalguni represents the entertainment field. It's Vedically, it's in Leo. I know tropically it's different, this position, but Vedically it's in Leo, and it's at between about 16 to the end of Leo. So it's going to be affecting the entertainment field. So it went retrograde there. Now it's come back to that position where it was when it went retrograde. And this is what's happening. It's ending. The writer's strike has ended today. I don't know if we're going to go live today, but this is the 27th, of course. And we don't know about the actors one yet. We don't know about the SAG-AFTRA strike, but so that's a good thing. It was true, and people are more upbeat and positive now with this change here. Sure. And again, the AI was a problem. It still is with that as well, because we don't want to. Not only they need to get paid for all their talent and studies and all the work they do, but also I think we as an audience need to see a person. We need that soul connection of seeing a real person and celebrating their training and their great skill. with so many different jobs as well, even astrology.
Sure.
One of my astrologer friends is telling me there's an AI for astrology, and I'm thinking, how? I mean, maybe it's, I'm sure, he said it's very accurate, but it doesn't get at the soul. Like I get clients who say they're going through a divorce, and I'm counseling and I'm using my intuition. Well, AI can't do that. It doesn't know what aspect of the person is being affected. It just can repeat, what the planets are doing. So yeah, it's a threat to us, this AI.
Yeah, I agree with you. AI technology, in my opinion, should be an assistant to mankind. It seems more and more that AI is subjecting us to whatever it wants us to do. So it seems like AI is restricting our freedoms. I'm not sure if you want to speak to that or respond to that.
Yeah, well, I think I see it mostly in work and personal, having the soul, just like us, the AI is not conscious because there's no soul in there. So you're not having that soul connection with anything to do with AI, even if you use it. Instead, if a person, takes someone's job, you don't feel the same speaking to an AI person on the phone. And I know someone who's spoken to an AI person on the phone, and it's really strange, really strange. Yeah, it's got to be under some kind of control of us, and not take control of us. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get a real person on the phone anywhere, anytime anymore. It seems it's a lonely place
No,
on some level.
no. But with AI, sometimes you can think it is a person because they ask
Yes,
how you are and all that.
like they mimic the inflections of the human voice.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell, and
Oh.
it's really amazing how it's advancing. I'm really hopeful and glad to hear you say that things are going to change. I think you said this year. Was it next September? You think things are going to get a little better?
I think even there's various times through next year. I
Yeah,
really feel the whole situation with the war will come to a finish. Another thing that people are concerned about is digital currency. I like digital currency. So many friends have it, and again, it's next year. Now I haven't done the research astrologically on this. It's so hard, but another astrologer has, and there's certain planets that are going to be in position the same as when Bitcoin went up next year, and I don't know
right.
when. So I just want to let people know, hang on to it for next year.
Okay,
So don't get rid of it yet. Yeah.
that's good. I'm happy to hear that, or that's good information. Well, you know what? I think we've really covered what I wanted to cover, and it was really nice to check in with you. Is there anything else that's on your mind that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, do you want me to tell you a bit about Conscious Life Expo next year?
Let's
Or
cover that.
I'm getting
Sure,
it ready now.
sure.
Yeah,
Before we
yeah.
wrap up,
Because I
right?
hope you can come. That takes place in February every year,
I hope
and
so.
everyone can go to consciouslifeexpo.com to get to see. We haven't got tickets for sale yet, but they will be soon. And of course, I book some of that, and I do the UFO panel. And yeah, we're talking a lot about disclosure. And I did invite all the whistleblowers at various times, just letting
Good,
you know.
good.
But it was very hard. They can't do it yet. And I think for them to appear at a conference is difficult, including those, who gave the hearing and everything. It's difficult for them. They're such good people, though, and they're sorry they can't come. But we do have Daniel Sheehan who will be giving a report on all what he knows is going on, and of
Great.
course Linda Moulton Howe. And in the ancient side, because we all really love ancient secrets, we will have Andrew Collins this year. And next year, when I say this year, I mean next year,
Yes, yes.
February. With all these secrets about the ancient sites, and he's just gone to Turkey again, and he's coming from England especially to talk to us. So there'll be so much going on. So just go to consciouslifeexpo.com.
Fantastic.
And
And
if
what?
anyone would like a reading with me, you can go to vimana.org or go to Serena at vimana.org. And Vimana means spaceship in Sanskrit.
I got you. I'm going to put those links under the podcast channel so people can access those links. And it has been a real pleasure to talk to you again. I hope we can do it soon.
Oh, great.
And I'll be in touch. Hopefully I can get out to the expo when that happens.
Oh, yes, I hope so. It'll be great. Great to be on
Serena,
again. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.